Is Tony Chopper a phony doctor? While some may be quick to reply no to this particular prompt, the answer is not as obvious as one might think. But before we can dissect this question, we must first examine his life and the decisions that led him to operate as the head physician for the Straw Hat Pirates. Which means, we start at the beginning. Tony Chopper is a reindeer with a blue nose, an oddity that made him an outcast in his own herd. Then he consumed a human fruit, which granted him the ability to transform into multiple bipedal configurations and behave like people. With the added intelligence of the humans, he soon became aware of the unfair prejudice his family held against him and struck out on his own. But despite his efforts to get along with humans, he wasn't welcomed into their society either and found himself lost between worlds, like a ship without a port. Chopper grew to resent the humans for treating him like a monster, and soon he even started to believe it himself. That is, until he met Dr. Heru, a quack doctor who offered his help to those who couldn't afford real doctors. Yes, he was audacious enough to call himself a doctor, despite never earning his doctorate or attending medical school. At any given moment, the man is mired in multiple litigations, but that doesn't stop him from practicing medicine illegally. Anyway, this was a chance encounter that eventually gave shape to Chopper's future. Soon enough, they became a tandem who went around helping those in need. They prescribed to the idea that good intentions triumphed over all illness, which held some merit but ultimately was proven less effective than actual surgeries and medication. They arguably did more harm than good, and it's impossible to tell the number of casualties they accumulated through their methods. Some would argue that their hearts were in the right place, but well-placed hearts cannot heal wounds or pay settlements for malpractice. Playing Patch Adams eventually caught up to them, however, when Dr. Heru became terminally ill. Alarmed, Chopper developed a concoction to save his only companion, but ended up poisoning him. This came as a surprise to no one, considering their habitual disregard for medical standards, but it was still very upsetting. After a short stint under Dr. Heru, Chopper began his apprenticeship under Dr. Kureha. He learned what it meant to be a doctor under Heru, and then learned what a doctor actually does under Kureha. Of course, it would have been better had he met Kureha before Heru. It would have minimized all the casualties that occurred under his care before he learned basic medical procedures. But it's better late than never, they say. Another way to look at it is that Chopper was able to have a consequence-free practice run early in his career to commit every medical error in the book. Not being held accountable for any medical blunders allowed him to grow faster as a doctor. His road to achieving his dream was paved with hundreds of corpses, but he's proven himself time and time again ever since. So when asked if Tony Chopper is a phony doctor, I can confidently answer, yes. Yes, he is. He doesn't have the credentials to call himself a doctor, which makes him a phony. But he's an effective phony, and he's willing to help for free, and that makes him much more reliable than my bare-bone medical insurance. I'm your teacher's alcohol cabinet, and this has been another episode of Exclusive Expose. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more factual exclusive exposés. Have a wonderful, exclusive day.